now live in Devon, and we came down here just over 3 years ago. And we're looking at Exodus, so I'm doing day 5 for you. And the title of today is Know Before You Go. And kind of interesting, isn't it? We have thought about the Israelites quite a lot since we've been down here in Devon, because their journey was very hard. And actually, we've been really excited to come down to Devon. It was a very brilliant place, but a lot of what we've experienced while we've been down here has been really tough. And that's interesting, isn't it? And yet we know that God brought us here with no question. So Moses and Aaron, 2 brothers, they head in to speak to Pharaoh. No small thing to do, actually. This is Pharaoh, who believes himself to be God and is so important and so revered in his culture that we have all the amazing artifacts that we have for when pharaohs died, because they were deemed gods that would then go to the afterlife. And you know, don't you, Tutankhamun's tomb is full of just the most unbelievable things. So they were very highly revered, and people didn't just walk in. It's a bit like you expecting to just walk in and speak to the Queen. So this is Moses and Aaron, and she doesn't think she's, a god. And they're walking in, and they're going to talk to Pharaoh. And they're going to say to Pharaoh a really hard thing, because Moses and Aaron believe that God has told them that they are to take the people of Israel to the promised land and to take them out of slavery. So obviously Pharaoh was outraged that, firstly, Moses and Aaron would challenge his authority by another god, and also that he would take the Israelites away from the slavery that they were doing in Egypt. So actually, the result of that was he made the situation so much worse for the Israelites. And this is what he says in Exodus 5 verse 2. Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let them go." Pharaoh wouldn't obey God because he didn't know God. Before you can confidently and obediently follow God's call, you have to get to know him. No one would change their entire life and obey God unless they personally had a connection with God. And you can't do the same. You can't just change your life without really getting to know God and spending time with him. And I guess that's been the thing that's really sustained us here, is how we've been able to know more about God, I guess, through some of these situations, and know God and get real and personal with him. And I do try and spend time with God every day if I can, to start my day that way. It's not always possible, and I don't want to do it as a big guilt trip. And God doesn't want you to come into his presence and get to know him because you feel guilty. He wants you to come into his presence because you want to be there and you want to enjoy that. And that's as well by being with other Christians, or so through your youth group, through your church, which we can't obviously do at the minute, but through your Bible and praying. Praying is really good, and get on with that. It's a great book by Pete Greig called How to Pray, and if you want to know how to pray, look at that. It's blessed my socks off over the last few years, actually. And do everything you can to get to know God in a personal way so you can follow him wherever he leads you. Exciting.